everybody, and happy Wednesday. Halfway through the week, keep going. Hope everybody's having a great day. Hope everybody had a great Tuesday. I've really got to stop putting things directly in camera sight. It wasn't until we started. I've only been looking at this for 10 minutes, talking with Brandy and whatnot. But happy Wednesday. If you are in Calgary, glorious day. Sun is shining. We're going to hit, depending on which weather service you're looking at, 19, 20, 21. Tomorrow, -1 and snow. Welcome to spring. We're a northern climate. We're a high elevation. We have mountains a hop, skip, and a jump away. We are going to get some swings and roundabouts with our weather, and that's okay. And, you know, it's this crazy weather, which is one of the reasons why I love Perennials as much as I do, because you go to somewhere like Victoria, or where I'm from in England or Europe, it's not hard to see how a perennial lives. The conditions don't really get that bad. I'm sure it might get cold. Newcastle, where I'm from, I got snow in the winter, and it'll get chilly, but it's never really that bad compared to what we get. And the fact that we get the winters we do, I mean, we had a snap in February. It was -40. It took me 5 minutes to get ready, 4 layers just to take my dog out. And it was so cold, I could only take him out for a maximum 15, 20 minutes. And then I got to come back and get all those layers off. So when we look at weather patterns like that, the fact that we can have -40 and then in the summer +35, and it's so dry. You know, we don't know what we're going to get. We can get snow in June because of the mountains, and we can get +10 in the middle of winter because of the mountains, because of the Chinooks. And yet we have these plants that every year they come back. And not only do they come back, but they come back for the most part, if you have a little bit of care for them, they come back stronger and healthier, bigger, better, year after year. And you know that I've been gardening with my dad, you know, since I was knee-high to a grasshopper. One of the first gardening stories ever, I'll just share this quick, was my dad was planting his spring onions one day, and I was helping, and he wasn't looking, and I was going behind him and lifting them all back out. And I always wanted to be in there. I always wanted to get my hands dirty. And yet here I am, you know, a few decades later. I'm not going to age myself that bad. 3 decades, 30, 33 right here. Pretty shot out 33, eh? But no, a few decades later, here I am, and I am still in awe of perennials, the different structures, the colors, the patterns, the wide variety. Early spring bloomers, late fall bloomers, everything in between. The importance to pollinators, they're incredible. So what I thought we would talk about today is, and I just randomly grabbed these ones. We're not specifically talking about these. I grabbed them again just to show diversity. I love this one, Polygonatum, Solomon seal. It's fragrant. I love the arch. I love the gentle arch. I love the flowers hanging down. This naturalizes really well, shade tolerant. Of course, a crowd pleaser, the delphinium. People love that. Perennial version of the Gaillardia. We were talking about the annual native version of that. This one is awesome. Brandy was blown away by this one. I love this. It's a euphorbia, and I love that the flowers look like somebody just went along and sprayed yellow on all of them. There's my drawing of a euphorbia. It's so lifelike. And a personal favorite is the iris. It's bold. I love the leaf. I love the blade, the fragrance, the showy flower. I adore them. So I just grabbed these just to have some perennials to show you guys. We're not specifically talking about them, but like anything, the most important, if you want your perennials to last, and like I said, get bigger every year, and showcase the flowers and do better, it all starts with the foundation. And the foundation is the roots. And the best thing you can do with the roots is when you plant them. You want to plant them properly. You want to make sure that those roots have got a good soil to grow into. You want to make sure your soil is amended. What you always want to do is the soil you dig out of the hole, mix that with your amendments. Don't put new soil in. Mix it 50-50, 2/3, 1/3, but you want the soil that's in your flower bed mixed in there. And the reason for that is this medium that it's growing in right here is a great growing medium. There's no clay in that. There's nothing. It's just peat moss and perlite and vermiculite and all the good stuff. So the adventitious new roots are just exploding through that. Then you take that and you mix some of the natural clay you've dug out of your bed. You put it in. Well, now those roots, they've got a good blend. They've got a nice peat moss, compost, clay mix. It's a little more difficult, but the loosening agents allow them to get through. Then they hit where you didn't dig the hole. Well, they've already strengthened up. Now they can start getting into that clay. So first and foremost, your first care tip comes when you plant. When you establish your perennial, if you take that time to prepare it correctly, dig the hole properly, use the amendments, make sure it's planted at the right height, the right depth, get everything you need, and give it a good soil, you've already established a fantastic growing environment for it. And then the next thing, I didn't grab any, we already talked about it, and we will be talking about all of this more in depth at the webinar on Saturday. Still spots available. Look at our blog on our website, sign up. We'd love to see you there. Is fertilizing. And like I was talking about yesterday, is when you're fertilizing your perennials, all you're doing there is giving them the best shot. In a perennial, it's really important that you cover all the bases. A good all-purpose fertilizer works. It's really important that they establish a strong, deep root system that'll help them get through the winter. The better root system they have, the more uptake they can have. Ergo, they'll put out stronger leaves. Better leaves, more photosynthesis. Then you've got a good fertilizer that's allowing all the gases and the sugars to exchange, all the moistures to move around. They're going to put out better blooms. So if you do a proper fertilizing program and you start from active growth all the way through to about the middle of August, you don't want to go much further than that, your perennials are going to thrive year after year. You're giving them what they need. Like I say, the fertilizer is like the multivitamin, the soil and everything else, the sunlight, that's their base, that's their meat and potatoes. And then you know, that fertilizer is like their 8 servings of fruit and vegetable kind of thing. And then the other thing is watering. And I get a lot of people who don't really understand how to water perennials. And again, we'll talk about this more in depth. But a new perennial, you want to water it every day. You want to establish it. You don't want it to dry out. After a couple of weeks, give or take, and again, nothing's written in stone. If you're in a full sun, high wind location, you might want to go 3 weeks. If you're in a shady, damp location, maybe a week is fine. 2 weeks every day. Then you want to taper off to every other day for about another 2 weeks. Then you want the plant to tell you when it needs water. And the reason for that, you can go out and water it every day. Perennial's going to be fine with that. Except what happens is you're not encouraging those adventitious roots to go down and dig. What they're going to do, well, they're getting everything. The fertilizer, the water-soluble fertilizer, the moisture is at the surface, so they stay at the surface. Well, you get a hard frost, and it's nipping all of those roots, and they've got no depth to support them. The adventitious roots, adventure roots, are looking for nutrients, and they're looking for water. So the deeper they go, the more established and healthier your perennial can be. True story, I transplanted a hosta one time, and it actually took 2 guys to lift this thing. It must have weighed a couple of 100 pounds, and I'm not kidding, it had a root ball like this. And that was a hosta, and 2 of us on either side lifted it. We ended up splitting it. I think we got 8 out of it, moved it around, fantastic. But those roots had established properly. Had it been overwatered, you know, those roots would have stayed on the surface. And then underwatering, it's not getting what it needs for the roots to even grow. So you really, when you start seeing the leaves wilt a little, And all you want to do is just see it a little. So you see a leaf and it starts to sag down, give it a drink. Give it enough. Then it's going to dig. It's going to look for more water because it's being shocked a little bit. Then it's going to be like, I haven't found any. Help me out. A bit more water. That's the cycle you want. You want your perennial to tell you when it needs a drink. For the most part, they'll be fine. If you chronically underwater it, you'll realize it won't produce blooms. It doesn't have the energy to do that. So a lot of times that'll be the first tip. Heavy will, non-bloom producing, or it produces a flower and the flower folds right away. And then on flowers, I want to talk about deadheading. So we know that pollinators love this. Bright, it's yellow, it attracts them. They come in, they're all over this like a bad habit. Okay, except it's a good habit because we love pollinators. And then what happens is, well, the job's done. This is now being fertilized as a flower. It drops the petals, and then this starts turning into a seed pod. And I'm not going to snip any off. I do with annuals all the time, but these have limited blooms, so I'm not going to snip any off. But it starts producing a seed pod. Now, for the vast majority of us, we don't want our perennials going to seed. That requires energy. Well, where does the energy come from? It comes from the light, it comes from the fertilizer, it comes from the watering, the photosynthesis, gas exchange, all of that. I don't want that perennial to produce a seed. I have no interest in growing another one. Now, if you do, I'm obviously allowed to go to seed. But what you do is you just snip the head off. So with this one, I would just cut it right back to here, right to this leaf, okay, and discard it. Well, now the plant can't produce a seed, so all of that energy is going to go back to root growth. The plant is producing a seed for propagation, for self-propagation. So it's coded to live, do a flower, produce a seed. Now this part can start dying if it wants. It's done its job. But you prevent it from doing that next cycle. Well, now it needs to establish even stronger in order to do that again next year so it has a chance. In fact, and I've done this before a couple of times, if I have a new perennial and for whatever reason, climate, it's being hit by bugs or a disease or something bad, and it's not doing well, I will live head it. And what I mean by that is I won't allow it to produce blooms. So you see these flower buds coming out, I'll snip them off and get rid of them. I won't even allow it to take the energy to produce a flower for that yet. Then all of that energy goes back into establishing the roots. As the roots grow, well, then the top gets stronger. It all starts from the foundation. The foundation is the root. The top gets stronger. A stronger top, more leaves, more photosynthesis, more energy. Next year, it will have the energy to produce the flowers. So in a nutshell, that's how to care for your perennials. And that really is, Cole's note version. On Saturday, we'll go over again what a perennial is. We'll talk about some principles, sun and shade ones, but we'll also talk about caring for them. Tomorrow, we're going to talk about perennials through the seasons, what you might need to do. Do they require different fertilizers? What you expect of them? Do you want them to go to seed if indeed you do want to harvest seeds? How to treat different bugs that might come through the season, different diseases, preventable measures. So that'll be tomorrow. I hope that gives you an insight on how to care for your perennials. Stay tuned, sign up for the webinars. This iris too, the fragrance on it, the iris is one of my dad's favorite plants. And he's imparted that on me, and I love them. I love the strong blade. I love the bloom. I love the fragrance. They are an incredible, incredible perennial. I can never get enough iris. They come in all different colors. If you don't have an iris, you should get one.
We should give away this one.
Okay. Let's give away this. We're going to give away this iris. It's a week on perennials. You know what? Last year we gave away a peony. I love you, Brandy. That's a wicked. I wouldn't have even. I don't know if I would have thought of that. I wasn't about to mention it. We're giving away this. Look for a post on social media. Brandy will figure out how to do it. And we're going to give away this exact one. So get it quick so you can enjoy the bloom. And we'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye, everyone.